Hello and welcome to Jessye Norman at 75, a celebration. I am your host, Kenneth Overton, operatic baritone and associate producer of Black Opera, the film. Today we celebrate one of the greatest artists that the world has ever seen or heard, the incomparable Jessye Norman. Miss Norman holds a very special place in my heart because as a 15-year-old boy in Philadelphia, she was the first opera singer I ever saw perform live, and that experience changed my life forever. During today's celebration, you will hear some of the best classically trained singers, all of whom were influenced by Miss Norman's example of excellence. There will also be reflections, stories, and testimonials from the people who knew her best, her friends, colleagues, artistic collaborators, and most importantly, her family. So please sit back and relax and join us for Jessye Norman at 75, a celebration.
Please don't let this harvest pass. Sinner, please don't let this harvest pass. Sinner, please don't let this harvest pass. And die and lose your soul at last. Sinner, oh, see that cruel tree. Sinner, oh, see that cruel tree. Sinner, that cruel tree, see where Christ has died for you and me. My God is a mighty man of war. My God is a mighty man of war. My God is a mighty man of war. Sinner, please don't let this harvest pass. Sinner, please don't let this harvest pass. Sinner, please don't let this harvest pass. Sinner, please don't let this harvest pass and die and lose your soul at last, and go and die and lose your soul at last, and go and die and lose your soul. At last.
The first of the languages had been with the drums, and that was soon understood to be transmitting messages, and so the drums were taken away. But because the human spirit will survive almost anything, a new way of communicating was discovered. And when you think that you had people working on plantations, very often who had no common language, and so they were learning the rudimentary aspects of the English language from the people that were overseeing them. And so the use of the language can sometimes sound quite elementary, but the meaning was very deep, because the only book that was allowed was the Bible. And so there was very often a very literal interpretation of the words. Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away, steal away home. I ain't got long to stay here.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Norman Sturkey. I would say that growing up in the Norman household was an active, nourishing, somewhat of a protective and protected environment. But for me and my brothers and sister, it was just family at its very best. There were 5 of us: Silas Jr., Jessye, James Howard, George, and me. Nearly a generation passed between the birth of the first and last sibling. Yet, when we all got together, there was a consistency in how we recall the bedrock values of our family. Values like faith and education, art appreciation, hard work, and the value of loving thy neighbor as thyself. I recall that there was always music. As youngsters, we were all enrolled in piano lessons. Our mother was our first teacher. As tots, we memorized prayers and Bible verses, and she taught us the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic. Later, during our school years, our routine was a scrumptious hot breakfast every morning, and then off to school with our daddy as our chauffeur. Now, about her travel. One cannot talk about Jessye's travel without mentioning the luggage. It was heavy, and there was always an extreme amount of it. Through our travels, we were all blessed to meet a smorgasbord of interesting people. And for most of us, long-lasting bonds of friendship were formed as we visited captivating and appealing destinations in the U.S. and abroad. After concerts, Jessye would greet her fans like old friends, remembering names and faces and details about people. It was entirely fascinating to see how good she was at making people feel special. Staying connected was always important to Jessye. She looked forward to our joining her for dinner in the evenings, no matter how busy she was, and Jessye would just submerge herself in our daily explorations and escapades of the day. I know that even right now, she is looking down and interested in how things are going and what fascinating things we are doing. Or maybe she is just enjoying heaven. At any rate, She always did love a party. So please enjoy the rest of this celebration. Happy birthday, Jessye!
I am Andre Golden Clark, and it is my honor to share a few words about my childhood with the amazing Jessye Norman. Growing up with Jessye was truly a delight. We both loved puzzles and found it amusing to see who would finish first. Usually Jessye would win first place, but no matter what the outcome, we were still the best of friends. Another favorite love we shared was going to music lessons together. Our special musical piece was Ode to Joy. We always took turns playing it for each other. Our love for music changed our friendship to a sisterhood and partnership. We used our gift of voice to sing with our church and elementary school choirs. Jessye was a powerful soloist. I remember how excited we both were to learn new musical challenges in our junior high school chorus. Jessye's voice combined with the talented members on that choir was always an unforgettable sound. Moving on to high school was not as challenging for us because we had each other. Our friendship and partnership continued to grow. Singing in choirs together helped us to use our musical talents as a duo. Jessye and I formed the junior high school duo, and when she would sing Climb Every Mountain at the assembly programs, there would always be shouts of joy, tears of joy, and thunderous applauding. I always knew that Jessye's purpose was to impact the world through song. Our high school years showed everyone that Jessye Norman of Augusta, Georgia, had found her dream. After high school, we went our separate ways with new beginnings, but our closeness never ended. I still beam with pride over all of her many accomplishments. When our son passed, Jessye called my husband and I. We were deeply touched. The bond between Jessye and me will be in my heart forever. I close with Climb Every Mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow till you find your dream. And that is just the life that Jessye lived. Her contribution to our hometown of Augusta, Georgia will forever be remembered.
The age group for the Marian Anderson competition was 16 to 30, a very wide span. And I was on the way to being 16, but not quite there. So I should not have been allowed to participate. And I was competing against singers who were up to twice my age, some of who were already singing professionally. Others too had a great deal more experience than I. But I was too excited and happy to worry about those things. When my time to perform arrived, with Miss Sanders at the piano, I sang Schubert's Leise flehen meine Lieder. My songs lie gently on the wind. And I had not yet studied German. And Stride la Vampa, the rising blades of fire from Verdi's Il Trovatore, since one of the requirements was to include a Verdi aria in the presentation, and the sheet music store in Augusta, I promise, this was why this particular aria about a woman burned at the stake found its way into the repertoire of a 15-year-old. And I laugh out loud at the thought, and I can still see the orangey red and white cover on the sheet music. Well, needless to say, I did not win the prize at the competition, but I was fortunate to meet the sister of Marian Anderson, who told me that she wished to keep an eye on me and encouraged me to re-enter the competition once I had had vocal training. This was good enough for me. I was much too delighted by the whole experience to feel any disappointment at all at failing to win a prize.
Hello, this is Richard Smallwood. I'm here with everybody else to celebrate a wonderful life, a wonderful legacy, a wonderful gift that is Jessye Norman. I'm proud to say that Jessye and I both graduated from Howard University, the School of Music. And I remember I used to go downstairs when Jessye was rehearsing in the practice area and sort of stand by the door so she couldn't see my face and listen to her sing, listen to her practice, because that was one of the most amazing voices that I have ever heard. And I remember that so wonderful. I mean, when you got off the elevator in the basement, if Jessye was down there, you would hear her. All you had to do was follow the sound to that wonderful voice. As we begin to progress in our different genres of music, we would run into each other at different occasions. I know we did something at the Apollo Theater together in New York. We did something back at our alma mater at Howard together. And several other places we did some musical things together. She has left behind such an amazing legacy that will be with us till the end of time, through recording, through video, through TV appearances, and we can still keep that legacy alive, and we still can enjoy it whenever we want to hear it. So Jessye, happy birthday. We love you. You're gone too soon, but what a gift you left with us that we will always cherish.
That I were a jewel, a shattered jewel, that all my shining brilliance might fall at thy feet, thou dark one. Would that I were a shimmering silken garment, that all my faults might wrap about thy body, absorb thy body, hold and hide thy body, thou dark one. Would that I were a flame, but one sharp leaping flame, to an annihilate thy body, thou dark one.
Jessye Norman's illustrious career was filled with operatic stage triumphs, award-winning studio recordings, orchestral appearances with the greatest conductors in the world, and as a consummate recitalist in every major concert hall on the planet. Some of her most notable operatic roles were Strauss's Heroine as the title role in Ariadne of Naxos, Sieglinde in Wagner's Ring Cycle, and Elizabeth in Tannhäuser, which was her professional operatic debut at the Deutsche Oper Berlin in 1969. 2 decades later, in 1989, would prove to be a legendary trifecta amongst her greatest achievements. She made history as the first person to sing a single character production at the Metropolitan Opera House in Schoenberg's Erwartung.
Atmet nicht, feucht, du fließt etwas, es wird rot, gut gerissen. Nein, es ist noch nass, es ist vertört. Ich kann nicht.
Adding to her already challenging duties, she paired this performance with the role of Judith in Bluebeard's Castle, starring in both sides of this historical double bill. Before the end of the year, she would commemorate the 200th anniversary of the French Revolution, being invited to Paris to sing the French national anthem at the center of the festival parade. Viewed by millions worldwide, this iconic moment and the unforgettable couture gown made just for her will remain in our minds and hearts forever.
I first met Jessye Norman in 1968 in Munich, Germany. She was in the international competition there. And when I first heard her sing, I remember she walked out on the stage and sang So Me Day. And after 2 bars, I had a friend who was also in a competition, girlfriend, and I'd said before that I thought my girlfriend was going to win. Well, after Jessye sang 2 bars, I said my girlfriend doesn't have a prayer. And I remember my comment was that this is the voice of the century. Her voice, she was a contralto at that time. And I tell you, her voice was like an organ. It was really beautiful. And then, of course, later on, shortly after 1968, Jessye's career started in Germany, and she became a soprano. And we performed together also. And then when Jessye made her debut at the Metropolitan Opera, I wasn't going to be in New York at that time because I was living in New York and Zurich. And Jessye said, "Oh, Simon, will your apartment be available?" I said, "Well, yes, Jessye." So I let her stay in my apartment the whole time when she made her debut at the Metropolitan Opera. And Jessye had one of the greatest voices of all time. It was an instrument that was beautiful and powerful. And she was a complete artist. Her artistry was incredible, impeccable. Her diction, her musicianship. And as you know, she was greatly loved around the world. And we wish she was still here with us.
nicht abweisen. Ach nein, ich ließ mich nicht abweisen. Ich bin von Gott und will wieder zu Gott, will Liebe zu Gott, will Liebe zu Gott, will mir ein Lichten geben, wird leuchten mir bis an das ewig
Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Tilson Thomas. Very happy to be speaking to you on the occasion of Jessye Norman's 75th birthday. I knew Jessye my whole life. I had first met her in Tanglewood. I was a fellow there, and she appeared direct from Europe with Colin Davis and sang with the Boston Symphony Orchestra Wagner's Wesendonck Lieder. Well, it was a life-changing moment. She was so magnificent. The richness, the warmth, the projection, the detail of every moment was transformative. Over the years, I was very, very lucky to get to do many pieces with her by Berlioz and Mahler and Haydn and even some John Cage. She was extraordinary in everything. Her sense of fidelity, of truth, of seriousness in approaching the real meaning of the music and making it understandable through her incredible authenticity as an artist. I miss her so much, remembering her today. Very grateful that we had the opportunity, all of us, to experience her great art.
I've known and loved Jessye Norman for over 25 years. But my favorite Jessye Norman story was when I went to visit her in April of 2004 at her home in Croton. I was in the middle of writing Act 2 of Margaret Garner with Toni Morrison and was feeling that she needed to be a part of this opera. And I came to her and I said, I'm here for 2 reasons. And she said, what's the first reason? And I said, you know the opera that I'm writing with Toni Morrison right now? And she said, yes. And I said, well, I think you're supposed to be a part of this. I'd like for you to sing the role of Scylla. And she said, please tell me the story. And when I did, she started sobbing and held me and cried in my arms as I held her. And she looked at me and she said, we've been waiting a long time for this. And then, of course, I had tears in my eyes. And she straightened herself up and she said, what's the second reason? And I said, well, I know you're a woman who believes in the power of prayer. I just want you to pray for me so that I don't screw this up. And she smiled and she said, I'm going to be with you every step of the way, dear. And she was, of course. She was not able to sing the role of Scylla in Margaret Garner due to illness. But she was in touch with me throughout that time, and I miss her so much and love her dearly.
Jessye Norman's musical abilities seem to have no limit. From Bizet's Carmen to the music of Duke Ellington, Beethoven's Fidelio, and the Baroque and French Romantic settings of Dido, not to mention her numerous recordings of French and German song literature, Negro spirituals, jazz standards, and selections from the American Songbook. Singing for United States presidential elections and international political engagements, her legendary career was of her own making. Some of her many honors will include being the youngest recipient of the Kennedy Center honor in 1997. She is also the winner of 5 Grammy Awards, including the 2006 Grammy Award for Lifetime Achievement. Just 3 years later, she would be bestowed with the honor of the National Medal of Arts, presented to her at the White House by President Barack Obama. And these are just a few of the great achievements of this incredible artist.
It is impossible to quantify what Jessye Norman means to me. Jessye Norman is everything. I think I heard Miss Norman sing for the first time in 1988 on a PBS broadcast of Ariadne of Naxos. The beauty and richness of her voice transfixed me. I'd never heard a sound like hers before, and I haven't since. Her presence was magnetic, and then, when I heard her speak, I was even more mesmerized. Her personality felt like the epitome of the eccentric, grand persona that I could not get enough of. I was about 16 years old at the time and a student at the Alabama School of Fine Arts. I was a dance major studying ballet and learning the kind of dedication, commitment, and hard work it takes to be a classical artist. Jessye Norman, to me, epitomized those qualities. My brother and I probably watched Jessye Norman sings Carmen hundreds of times. We can still quote lines from the 1989 PBS documentary that took us behind the scenes of Miss Norman making her iconic recording of Carmen. The first time I saw Miss Norman sing in person was around 1995 at a concert at Lincoln Center. On the program, she sang Mon cœur s'ouvre à ta voix and Give Me Some Music from Barbara's Antonine Cleopatra, among other selections. My brother and I waited outside the stage door just for an up-close glimpse of Miss Norman. Our nosebleed seats failed to give us that opportunity. And when Miss Norman finally emerged from the stage door, we applauded her as she signed some autographs and scurried into her car. I had the honor of meeting Miss Norman several years ago backstage at a gala for the Alvin Ailey Dance Company. The dancers had performed to the spiritual "Oh Freedom" that night. I got to tell Miss Norman that it was her interpretation of "Oh Freedom" that truly made me understand the layers of meaning, struggle, and hope in the spiritual I didn't even know was possible before I heard her sing. That's the thing about her artistry. It simultaneously illuminates the depth of humanity while also demonstrating what God sounds like. We love you so much, Jessye Norman. Happy 75th birthday, Jessye Norman. We love you.
first met Jessye Norman in Lausanne, Switzerland. I was there to record the title role in Haydn's opera Orlando Palladino, conducted by Antal Dorati, part of a series he was preparing for Philips Records. The recording session took place in the Lausanne Town Hall. On the first day, as I approached the recording engineer's control room, the door opened and out walked Jessye Norman. We introduced ourselves and conversed briefly. She had just finished her recording of her role in La Vera Costanza and was on her way to her next engagement. It's no exaggeration at all to describe Jessye Norman as a prodigious force of nature. The potential of the gifts that were implanted in her at conception placed her on a boundless level of accomplishment that one can only describe as astounding. For me, her crowning aura was that genuine majesty of spirit which she shared with other iconic figures like Marian Anderson, Roland Hayes, and Paul Robeson. This, combined with her miraculous vocal and artistic endowments and a heart filled with infinite magnanimity, placed Jessye Norman in that panoply of souls never to be forgotten. It was an honor to know her and to be considered her friend.
To be a friend of Jessye Norman's was to be welcomed into a world of generosity and magic. This went from her legendary Christmas parties to women's gatherings with tea, talk, and a feeling of chosen family. We also served together on the board of the Ms. Foundation for Women, and she knew how to make a difference in the lives of little girls who, like her, had only their dreams and a radio to link them to the wider world. Because I wasn't a music person, I had to discover that she was not only the greatest friend in the world, but also the greatest singer. She once answered an invitation from Sting and other popular male singers to join them at Carnegie Hall. She actually did sing backup for them. Then she finally stepped out to sing on her own. There was a sudden hush in the audience, as if they were hearing the full power of the unamplified human voice for the first time. She had broken through any mystification of opera and brought musical worlds together. In later years, as Jessye became less able to navigate the world without the throne of her motorized wheelchair, there was much concern and plotting among Jessye's friends. Yet she herself was always regal, generous, and kind. I will never stop regretting that the world was robbed of Jessye too soon, and that Jessye was way too soon robbed of the world. I am one of countless millions of people who carry her sound, image, and love in my heart. Though I, who am almost a decade older than Jessye, have a special feeling of injustice at her loss. I understand how lucky I am to have heard, known, and loved her.
We've all heard of pop stars whose contracts have riders. A list of dressing room accommodations, meals, and specifications for stage design, sound systems, and lighting that can stretch 30 pages long, single space for every appearance they make. They want the brown M&Ms removed from the bowls of chocolate delights sitting in each of their dressing rooms, 600 thread-count Egyptian linens for their trailers, and enough fanciful, expensive food to feed a small nation, or rather, their entourage of 30 band members, backup dancers, roadies, and men of unclear purpose. The demands can be quite stunning. I've seen copies of them for myself. I cannot think of enough things that I could possibly need in order to fill such a number of pages. And I suppose it happens, not being a pop star. Surely my requests are simple to a fault. I need only those things that will help me keep my vocal mechanism in top form. Unscented soap, unscented tissues, fruit and fruit juice that are not citrus, room temperature bottled water, and paper cups. Voila. My pals laughingly insist that I should ask for African violets and orchids flown in from who knows where just to mix it up a bit. Maybe a crystal ball with 5 red jelly beans. But really, none of those things have anything to do with my ability to perform. It takes a lot of energy, a great deal of concentration and determination to present the kind of performance that one wishes to on a stage in front of thousands of people at a time. I find my energy better spent in pursuit of that prize, the performance.
Jessye and I began working together in the summer of 1995. From the very first rehearsals, it was clear that we had a special chemistry and enjoyed making music together. She had been doing this for the past 25 years as a professional, so it was extraordinary that she was able to keep a freshness to her interpretations. I was privileged and truly honored to be part of this journey with her. Thanksgiving 1997 at her home in London. It wasn't a large house, but there were still quite a few people there. When the meal had finished, a group of us went downstairs, and that's where the piano was. I, of course, went to the piano and thought, oh, well, why not a little after-dinner music? So I started improvising on American standards from the American Songbook. About 2 or 3 minutes into it, I think I'm playing When Smoke Gets in Your Eyes or something like that. We hear Jesse's voice. Who is playing the piano? And everyone looked at me like, are you not supposed to be playing the piano? What's going on? And she came down the staircase and popped her head around the corner and said, that's you? You can do that? And I saw in her eyes in that moment that something started to percolate and that she had ideas for how our future together might evolve. If music is great, it's great. That's it. There are only 2 kinds of music, great music and bad music, and that was her philosophy. She also, as we all well know, did not want to be pigeonholed because that is not how she saw herself. She was so free, she felt comfortable, and this is someone who was known for her preparation and rehearsing. She loved to rehearse things so that when she was on the stage, she could be free. I think one of the most memorable times in all these years, in 20 years together, was at the Jazz Festival of Montreux. And here was one of the world's greatest opera singers coming to sing at the Jazz Festival there. She was going to sing the Poulenc song, Les Chemins de l'Amour, right after that. And I had suggested, just sing it down the octave. It'll be interesting.
Chemin d'amour, d'amour.
In sentimental
in this sentimental bliss. You make my it's all like a dream to call you mine. And my heart's a lighter thing since you've made this night a thing divine. Innocent
For me, freedom is clothed in the understanding and recognition of the worth of every soul on this earth. Every soul is as full of value as one's own. I take great solace in knowing that even as race continues to divide us, innocence abounds. I'm reminded of this when I think of a little friend of mine, a French girl I shall call Yvonne, who was no more than 8 years old when I came to know her through her parents, who taught French, English, and Spanish in an international school in the south of France. Yvonne had a lot of different looking friends because of the nature of her environment, and so she tended to focus on traits and qualities such as kindness or laughter in describing them, the way children do. One Sunday afternoon, after a lovely leisurely lunch, she and I went for a walk in the fields of her parents' property, having a fine visit, when she told me about a new friend she had made. He's from a country called Africa, she said proudly. That is a place very much south of here, but they have some of the most beautiful people I've ever seen. My new friend is wonderful. He's just such a very nice person, and I'm so glad he's in my class at school. He's from Africa? I inquired. Yes, she said excitedly. We know where Africa is because we saw it on the globe in school. That child went on, talking about her new friend and the continent from where he came and how nice he was, and she never once mentioned his skin color. So I asked her about it. Yvonne, what color is his skin? Does it look like mine? Or does it look like yours? Her answer was so simple. Je vais aller jeter un coup d'œil demain, she said. I will have a look tomorrow. What is more beautiful than this? She just saw him, nothing more, nothing less. Just a beautiful new friend who came from a continent called Africa. This helps confirm what I grasped instinctively as a child, that society will inevitably come to the understanding that racism is mindless, lacking in all the light that is within us. And despite all the evidence to the contrary, I remain steadfast in my belief, the belief planted in my heart by Janie and Silas Norman Sr. That some fine day, the world will right itself and say collectively, well, yes, that person looks different from me, has a different belief system, a different creed. But what does it matter? We're all one gargantuan family. Human.
If anybody asks you where I'm going, where I'm going soon, so if you wanna know where I'm going, where I'm going real soon, I'm going up yonder, I'm going up yonder, I'm going up yonder to be with my Lord. If I can take the pain, the heartache that it brings, there's comfort there in knowing I'll soon be home. If God gives me the grace, I'll run this race, and soon I'll see my Savior face to face. I'm going up yonder, I'm going up yonder, I'm going up yonder to be with my Lord. I'm going up yonder, I'm going up yonder, I'm going up yonder to be with my Lord. I'm going up yonder, I'm going home. So if you wanna know where I'm going, where I'm going, I'm going home.
I went on stage and I played for myself Amazing Grace. The entire audience of 5,000 people sang Amazing Grace back to me. It is interesting for us to know the origin of this song. It was written by a person in the British Navy whose job it was to go to Africa, pick up slaves, put them in the bowel of his ship, and drive them back to England. On one of these occasions, there came a tempest on the ocean, and he was certain that everybody was going to drown, including his cargo in the bowels of the ship. And it was at that time that he, who really had no particular faith, started to pray. And at that moment, the words for Amazing Grace came into his mind, because in the end, the tempest calmed and everybody was saved. And this is why you have the words, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. But it's important that we should know that this song grew out of a person's epiphany and discovery of something greater than themselves. And so I suppose in the end it's not a surprise that everybody knows it.
Than when we first begun.
I'm so happy to be celebrating our dearest Jessye with you all. I'll always remember this extremely intelligent and incredible artist who left us all too soon. How blessed we are to have the memories of her amazing smile that would light up a room, her unforgettable and beautiful voice, along with her effervescent laughter. These will remain in our hearts forever. Thankfully, her spirit lives on in her remarkable performances, and her legacy will endure through the School of the Arts. How privileged we are to have known her. Here's to you, our fabulous Jessye.
All of tonight's speakers and performers were deeply impacted by Miss Norman's friendship, sisterhood, and legacy. The culture-defining artists owe much of the excellence to those who came before them, and believe me, they know it. For instance, the next two singers, an American baritone born in Stuttgart, Germany, and a former basketball player from Tacoma, Washington.
Lieben hassen, hoffen, sagen, alle Lust und alle Qual. Alles kann ein Herz ertragen, einmal und das andere Mal. Aber weder Lust noch Schmerzen abgestorben, auch der Pein, das ist tödlich deinem Herzen. Und so musst du mir nicht sein, musst dich aus dem Dunkel heben, wäre es auch neue Qual. Leben musst du, lieben
I vividly remember growing up in Augusta, Georgia, and my parents telling me this story about a young girl who used to sing at the Mount Calvary Baptist Church. This particular story told me about the time that she probably came down to Augusta from Howard University as a freshman, and she sang Moon River from the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's at my parents' wedding, James and Evelyn Sneed. One Christmas evening, I remember meeting Jessye Norman for the first time at her sister Elaine Sturkey's home. We received a phone call from Miss Sturkey, and she said, "I think you should come to dinner with my sister and I." I remember driving up the long path to the front door, and when she opened the door, her eyes filled with excitement and glee, and she said, "Mrs. Sneed, I remember you. I remember the wedding, and I remember singing Moon River." And from that point, Miss Norman and I became very close. She was like another mother figure to me. She was a mentor, and she was definitely a hometown friend. I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to know such a monogene of our lifetime, someone who was the quintessential epitome of excellence. I was blessed to play with her for her final international recital in France, to record with her on her final recording in Atlanta, Georgia, and I had the opportunity to spend her last hours smiling, being reminded of things from the past in Augusta, and her encouraging me to stay the course.
Wenn du es wüsstest, was träumen heißt, von brennenden Küssen, von Wunden und Ruhen, mit der Geliebten Auge in Auge und kosend und plaudernd. Wenn du es wüsstest, du neigtest dein Herz. Wenn du es wüsstest, was bangen heißt, in einsamen Nächten umschauet vom Sturm, da niemand tröstet milden Mundes die kampfmüde Seele. Wenn du es wüsstest, du kommst zu mir. Wenn du es wüsstest, was Namen heißt, umhuscht von der Gottheit, verschaffende Atem, zu schweben empor, nicht getragen, zu seligen Wohnen. Wenn du es wüsstest, wenn du es wüsstest, du lebtest mit mir.
I'm Darren Walker, and I'm so grateful to say that I was a friend of Jessye Norman. And on the occasion of her 75th birthday, I'm so delighted that we are celebrating her. Jessye Norman, yes, was an icon. She was a legend. She was a trailblazer. But Jessye Norman was also a fighter for justice. She was a great friend to many. And those of us who had the privilege of knowing her well feel her loss every day. Jessye was present in our lives in every facet. She was a beloved person. No matter where in the world she traveled, she was embraced warmly with gratitude. I am so thankful for her life and so thankful for the gift of Jessye Norman.
"350 days ago, my sister Jessye took the early morning flight to her eternal home. Though she's not with us today, we're thankful for the presence of her spirit. Her story began in a lower middle-class family situated in a segregated enclave in our hometown of Augusta, Georgia. The elementary, junior high, and high schools we attended were within blocks of our residence, as was our church. Though the community was segregated, it was economically diverse, as African-American lawyers, ministers, healthcare professionals, mechanics, factory workers, domestics, mechanics, and educators lived within the same neighborhoods. We attended many of the same congregations, and we patronized many of the same establishments. And if we were going to watch a movie, we went to the Lenox Theater. The Norman kids were expected to be well-behaved and to be diligent in their endeavors. Jessye and the rest of the Norman kids sang in the church and school choirs and participated in the school band and dramatic arts. By junior high, Jessye's unique musical talents had drawn wide attention. Years later, school budgets became constrained, as did the opportunities for creative expression within the school environment. Jessye was appalled by this environment because she thought that creative and artistic expression was essential to being a well-rounded person. So she decided to do something about it. She collaborated with people of artistic interest in our hometown and established the Jessye Norman School of the Arts, not for the purpose of trying to reproduce herself or necessarily create a new class of classical or high-performing artists, but to give young people, particularly those from low-resource environments, the same opportunity that she had to reach their potential.
I represent something larger than myself. In everything I do,
and in everything I say,
I represent myself, my family, my school,
and the Jessye Norman School of the Arts.
I will strive to bring honor to all that I represent by doing only my best,
saying only my best,
and being only my best.
I am a student of the Jessye Norman School of the Arts. I am a student of the Jessye Norman School of the Arts.
I am a student of the Jessye Norman School of the Arts.
I am a student of the Jessye Norman School of the Arts. I am a student of the Jessye Norman School of the Arts.
I am a student of the Jessye Norman School of the Arts.
In Arthur O'Shaughnessy's poem Ode, he wrote in praise of artists everywhere. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams, wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams, world losers and world forsakers, on whom the pale moon gleams. Yet we are the movers and the shakers of the world forever, it seems. What a thought! Creative spirits, the movers and shakers of the world? Where could this all lead? We might come across the idea that an awakened spirit, this ability to express ourselves through the inspiration of the arts in our lives, could well be the real meaning of life. That the exploration of our own imagination might just be our real life's work.
My personal reflection of Jessye: a magnificent singer, a wonderful mentor, and a dear friend. The last time we were together, we were at her apartment, and we were discussing about our project, about the life of Sister Acta Jones. It was a gorgeous afternoon, sitting there laughing and chatting over a cup of tea and banana bread. She loved banana bread. I miss her greatly. She was such an inspiration to me as a young singer and as a woman. I know she is guiding Adina and me as we complete her legacy project. Sister Acta Jones, call her by her name. Thank you, Jessye. We love you. We miss you.
There is such richness in the life of this woman, such determination. What would make her think, less than 20 years out of slavery, that she should sing Sempre Libera, that she should study Italian, that she should sing classical music? But she did it. The determination that had to be in that body that helped her to understand, yes, I can do this, I can put a troupe of performers together, and I will travel the world.
Thank you, Audrey. That was beautiful. I want to take a moment to talk to you about Black Opera, the film, currently in production. The film will follow the lives and careers of 6 legendary Black opera singers: Jessye Norman, Martina Arroyo, Grace Bumbry, Leontine Price, Simon Estes, and George Shirley. The film will blend cinema verite, artist interviews, and breathtaking archival footage that will transport us into the world of these 6 operatic superstars.
I love to sing, and it was as simple as that.
I just feel very blessed and very humble that I've had these wonderful musical and spiritual and cultural experiences.
If I had any legacy at all, I would like to say that I cared and that it showed.
I enjoy very much working with young singers.
American history is filled with the stuff of operatic appeal and greatness.
I walked out on stage and I knew I was doing what I was born to do.
Achievement has no color, it has no religion, it has you.
Proceeds from today's celebration will go to support Black Opera the film and the estate of Jessye Norman, which funds the Jessye Norman School of the Arts. We must all continue to find ways for the creative and performing arts to remain in the lives of all of our children. Throughout the week, we will continue to accept contributions through Eventbrite, and we thank you in advance for your generosity and your support. And we thank you for joining us for Jessye Norman at 75, a celebration.
Jessye was one of the truly great inspirations in my entire life in music. And she epitomized everything good in music as well as in human values.
I miss her. I love her. She was my sister, my friend, my soulmate, and the musical voice, which had all my life, moved me most.
Jessye Norman is what happens when presence meets presentation in the perfection of performance.
I think Jessye Norman is a miracle.
Happy birthday, Jessye.
Happy birthday, Miss Norman.
Happy 75th birthday, Queen Jessye Norman.
Happy birthday, Jessye.
We love you and we miss you so much.
Voice that spans the skies, lifts the earth, and creates its own universe. When she sang, "He's got the whole world in his hands," the audience at Carnegie Hall leapt to its feet and it was obvious that Jessye Norman and the Lord had at least one thing in common.